boom ba boom bum ba boom bum ba boom bum. But I am
all right, so we are 4 lines from the top, and then on that line, the word before it is alcohol ponim. Very hard on the line by Reza. The line begins with yes, go ahead. You were on last night?
I was on last night.
Okay, sure.
This that Baruch asked about how this inyan of identifying what he is versus some kind of contrast, how does that fit with the word hisoirus? Well, I forgot your answer. I didn't quite catch the answer. You explained an arousal.
An arousal, right. An arousal immediately implies some kind of a reaction, some kind of action, activity, or at least leaning towards activity, recognition of activity. Because the essence within itself has everything in inception.
Meaning there's no activity, there's no need for activity.
There's no need for activity. Yes, of course there's no need for activities. There's no room for activities.
So this is the first inyan of activity, basically. Yeah, this Ayinus.
Right. And this is Yisodus Kloli. Yisodus Kloli is there's no possibility of acting in a klal manner. So it's not an activity per se, but it is recognition of the world of activity, which is Yisodus Kloli. Okay. All right, so we're ready to go. והרי זה גם כן בכלל בחינס הספשוס העיר. This is my echo. What is this?
No, I think it's almost.
What page are you up to?
Somebody speaking? Oh, okay.
What page? You want to know what page?
Page Kuf Ayin Gimel.
Fourth line.
Kuf Ayin Gimel. We started at the end of the 4th line and we are now into the 5th line. הרי זה גם כן בכלל בחינס הספשוס העיר. This is Yisodus Kloli. And we say this is Yisodus Kloli al kol ponim. And the point of al kol ponim is that even though Yisodus Kloli does not have anything specific to say, and therefore, as we said, there is not a possibility of activity per se. Nevertheless, this too goes into the category of his pashtus ho'er. Because the principle in this hisoirus kloli is that I can have an effect. That's hisoirus kloli, and that's his pashtus. Avo bechinas etzem ho'er. But the bechina of etzem ho'er, the essence of the ho'er, shelamai lo gam mi bechinas hiserus kloli, which is above even of this bechina, of this aspect of hiserus kloli. Again, to call our attention and to focus in, using the word bechina over here is absolutely necessary, because hiserus kloli is not a presence of any kind. It's a bechinas hiserus kloli. As we said, bechina is something which is attests to something that is very deeply hidden, concealed in the essence. But ultimately, you come to realize that it actually is a presence there. But initially, and even beyond initially, you only see the essence. You don't see any hiserus.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the difference between bechinas and bechinas? Or is there?
Okay, it has to be specific. This is not.
Okay.
So the etzem ho'er, what is the union of bechinas etzem ho'er? Even though that is oir, and we said that inherent in oir is that phase and that aspect of the oir, it's called his pashtus, because oir, it by definition is capable of having an effect. Within this overall aspect of oir, there is the etzem oir. There is the essence of the oir. Because oir, as we have been talking, we have shown, that oir is not initially for the purpose of effect. Oir has an etzem element. It is to bring the etzem in a state of presence.
That's not an effect.
That's not an effect. A state of presence to himself. He is present. This is called etzem ho'er.
It's to bring the etzem into a state of presence, and that's not an effect.
That's not an effect. That's the representative of the etzem. Effect is a functional element.
It still has the mandate of accomplishing something.
Mm-mm.
No.
The chitzonius of that has the element of accomplishment. But in essence, are we still having a difficulty with that? Do we sense a difference?
To make an essence present.
Well,
sensing has not.
we immediately go and see it as something with accomplishment, and we have to understand that it's not. There's what's called an essence, which is representative of an atzim.
Right, I'm trying to think of how that.
So here is the thing. We have been going through this a lot, and we have, I said, many points that illustrate this inyan. And that it's a mind opener. If you remember when we spoke about the Malik Kolam and the Sivir Kolam, and we gave an example from a human experience, that the human being, the principle of Eloi Signoiv, on the human level, is that for a human being to be concerned about protecting his property is unnatural. He can't be preoccupied with that, because that is not what he is. He's above that. He has his property. He has his property. Finished. Nobody should be. That shouldn't be even any concern. Because he has to have the peace of mind. His mind has to be occupied with human aspect, not protecting his property. Mm-hmm. Then we went a notch above that, and we said, all right, this is how the human being feels. Senses, because that's his status. On what basis? What gives him, so to speak, the right to demand such a luxury, such a reality?
Yeah.
He is, after all, only a human being in a big world.
Mm-hmm.
What was the answer? Go ahead.
He's the whole world's made for him. He's an invited guest. He's
for real over here. This reality, that's why the invited guest, has no functional element whatsoever. Can you tell when you go into among 1,000 people who is invited, who is not invited? There's no functional element in this. Functionally, there's no difference, even in the person himself. Functionally, he can do exactly the same thing, like whether he is invited or not invited. But he is in a different status. This is the confusion in the world. The animal level can do the same thing like human being. He eats, he sleeps, he hunts, he protects his turf. But it's not the same thing. Because he lacks the essence, the etzem. That etzem is not on a functional level. This is just, this etzem, all aspects of etzem, all aspects of reality, are based and rooted in one truth, that the world is a creation, that God created it. If the world, if we should see the world as something as has self-developed, if a human being has risen to that status because through his own effort, they cannot possibly get that status. Then whatever he accomplishes is always precarious. Always needs to protect it. Can you build a business that will run and never fail? It's impossible.
So even though or is not an etzem, there's etzem or.
That's right. That's well put.
What is a king? Even the or is not an etzem?
It's an etzem, right? It's an oyer. But in the oyer, the etzem had expressed itself and given the oyer the koyach ha'atzmi. This is what we would. This is what we struggled all the time to sense this inyan. So going back to the oyer shelifnei hatzimtzum, and as we pointed out, oyer shelifnei hatzimtzum, this is where the initial oyer is, which means that this is where the etzem is sensed mostly, because this is where the oyer was innovated from the etzem. So there also no etzem. And although that there is it's oyer, and oyer has an element of his pashtus, but there is also in the oyer etzem oyer. Because the inyan that the Atzmus wanted to have oyer, it is that Atzmus wanted itself to be in Bechinas oyer, Bechinas oyer. And let us take a few moments to focus in on that. Why can't we say that Atzmus produced an oyer for the purpose of function? Why do we say that Atzmus produced an oyer to represent itself? If oyer has, he said by definition, has his pashtus, maybe this is what Atzmus produced. This is the initial. There's no etzem oyer. There's his pashtus oyer, because that's what that ultimately is the purpose of oyer. You understand the question?
Why is there no source, so to speak? There's no. Why couldn't the Abishur just? Why
do we say that this initial oyer is an oyer that represents Atzmus? Maybe oyer is the functional element. Initially to create. Do you understand the question?
Yeah.
The answer is that in Atzmus there is nothing. Why? Where does creation come from? What does it mean you must create? There's exclusively Atzmus, Etzem. Creation is a non-etzem. How is creation fit into that arena? It's a non-entity. This is why we're explaining now that oyer, the initial oyer, is actually rooted in etzem. It's not creation. It's not his pashtus. It is representing the etzem. It's rooted in etzem, and it's only representing etzem, representing nothing else. There is only etzem, and that's what oyer is. Except in etzem, there was this will that he should be a presence. But which presence? An etzem presence. That hasn't changed.
So from before that, we say that etzem has nothing,
and after we say Etzem is everything. Is that true? In other words, Etzem becomes a presence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't. I hear. Please let's stick to the same verbiage. Otherwise, unless it's something which clarifies for you. Otherwise, just to enhance it is not. It'll only be confusing. Do you understand the point? There is no arousal in Atzmos. There is no world in Atzmos.
But you could say the Eibishter's Kol Yachol. In other words, the same way that the Eibishter created a light, the first light, because
no question about it.
You could create a world that has this purely function,
That's right.
Then it wouldn't have a connection to the Eibishter.
That's right. That's right. The fact that he Kol Yachol is absolutely true. The basis of all our discussions and any kind of, so to speak, reason, logic that we apply to understanding the Lakus is all based on one principle. That the Rebbe, in fact, created and revealed himself in a manner that should lend itself to our understanding. Not necessarily grasp, but to our understanding, in order to facilitate the growth aspect.
Is part of that the Eibishter wanted to have a dwelling place down here?
Yes.
Okay, so therefore, any world that he created has to somehow be connected to him.
Yeah. This is definitely volitional. Kol Yachol, and we are not at all.
And then you're based on that. Based on that, now you're bringing out the logic of that.
Right.
Okay.
So we're explaining what is. On that basis, we're saying that what was the initial will. It couldn't be his pashtus. If it's his pashtus of the creation world, so that's not where it is. Where does that come to his pashtus world? Therefore, we say no. It was not. It was to represent. It to be etzem, to present the etzem in life. This is the initial thing. Okay, on Hashem, filling in the missing links that we don't realize. Okay, so this is the. Therefore, the oil is etzem oil. This etzem oil is mamish k'mei ha'etzem. It has to be k'mei ha'etzem because that's the whole union of this. This is all that was contained, so to speak, in its source. Is etzem. No, it could not be anything else. This thing that we say that there is a special, this is the chitzonius of that.
What does that mean, the chitzonius of that?
The chitzonius of that means that being that it's a presence has already an external and outside. The real thing I was created is the presence of the etzem. But as a presence, there is already an outside. This is what chitzonius. Chitzonius means the unintended result, essentially.
You say it has an outside. You mean how it's viewed from the outside?
Not how it's viewed. There's no outside
one
to view it, but there is a possibility to be viewed.
Is possible. And there, it's different than the intention because what?
Because the intention is to represent himself.
And when you view it from the outside,
this is not representing himself. This is how it affects something else. To complete this circle, our avodah is to draw the etzem into the hispashtus. Because, as we said, hispashtus was sort of, so to speak, an inadvertent result. This is not the real thing. The real thing is the etzem. And our idea is to bring the etzem into his pashtus, and to see that his pashtus is also only representative of etzem.
Lord Etzem would nullify his pashtus.
It would nullify his pashtus. Through avoida, it doesn't nullify, it only enhances it. That's the whole difference. When it comes through avoida is a tachteni, or it comes with Maila. When it comes with Maila, then there's no world to begin with. But if it comes through avoida, it's a tachteni, because the world has been so purified and seeking the etzem, then the etzem only enhances the world.
You once gave an amazing mashal for this, where the like the father and the son, where the father wants to help the son, guide the son, but he can't. If he does it without the son wanting it, then the son's going to either reject it or it's not going to be. So when does it really happen? When the son comes to the father and says, "Tati, what do you want? You know, what? Tell me what. You know, I want to know your advice. You know, I want to."
Yeah. Through avoida, the whole thing is complemented and the etzem. It's that's like we're saying, loitignev. In the world, loitignev, lahavdil. Really, from the worldly perspective, perfectly relevant is the same as the animal. They have to stand on guard and hold your turf. That's world. We go a notch above and we say, no, there's a human element in this. Then we go a notch above and we say, no, there's a godly element in this. What is a God? Hey, the Rebbe still wanted me to be here. That's already mitzad halakus. This is not the worldly thing.
Mm. Even when you look at the invited guest, you can look at it from two perspectives. You
That's
can look
right.
at it, I'm an invited guest, or you can look at the Eibishter really wants me to be invited. The Eibishter is inviting me.
That's right. And that is ultimately how the etzem is in the Yismashnas.
That it's coming from, it's a choice from Lamaila. That it's a real thing because it's Lamaila is choosing.
And my is choosing, but we are mamshichet.
What does it mean? We're mamsheh.
We are mamshichet when we come to the realization that I cannot be but an invited guest. Because that is the only thing that's really true.
So it's not enough to just stay with this that Hashem chose to invite me, so to speak, that it's a choice from Lamaila. I also have to see it from a perspective from a different perspective, or that's it?
Yeah, well, it depends.
Okay.
Let's
Okay, fine.
we have to, I said we have parameters for everything. Okay, so let's see again inside. 5 lines from the top in the middle of the line. That is even above the Hiserus Kloli, nothing to do with functionality per se, but Hiserus Kloli, that functionality can exist. Hareze al derech moshel bechinas etzem Hashem. This is al derech moshel. This is comparable to the union in a moshel of etzem Hashem. What's etzem Hashem? Etzem Hashem, the essential, the name, as the person carries it, he cannot divert himself of the name. He cannot divest himself of the name. It is part and parcel of him. As we explained that when we say about in Etzem Hashem, we're not talking about the specific name that was given to him, but the fact that he has a name. That's an inherent element in the human being. It's an interesting Indian phenomenon in our day. Going back historically, a name was extremely significant, extremely important. People were referred to by names, their name, their father's name, their grandfather's name. Even in Russia, a person was known, like by his was known. This was, so to speak, in the document. His name, his father's name, and his family name. My name in Russian, in Moscow, was Abel Borisovich Paltiel. Abel is my name. Borisovich was my father's name was Abel. Paltiel is the family name.
Couldn't say it 3 times fast.
No, not in a row. Say it backwards. That's the point. This was a very essential Indian. And you know, if you go into the Arab land, I mean, names, every name has 5 different words to it. Okay. In America, we have going down to the simplicity of existence, where the human element is kind of discounted. This is the idea of the fast food, and you know, hey Jack. Nobody's called by his full name. Nobody's called by his full name. Bob. What's Bob? Bob is not a name. What?
He's listening.
Oh, I'm sorry?
He's listening.
I'm sorry.
Bob is listening.
Bob is listening? Where's Bob?
He's on the conference. Robert.
Huh?
Robert.
Okay.
Son.
It's not a name. It's just the ease of reference. Because people kind of want it. This is where the torn dungarees come from. To wear clean pants, it's too limiting. It's too confining.
Too structured.
Too confining. I want to be like the cat. I want to go wherever, do whatever I want. Not what I want, but what my animal wants. Don't give me any kind of a status, human status, intellect. You know, people pay for torn dungarees. It really boggles the mind, right? It is boggles the mind because it's to eliminate the mind. So when a person, so to speak, avoids the name, he is seeking to equate himself to the animal. This is why we elected that behemoth over there, because people do not want to think. They don't want to think. You come to them and give them that. I don't want to think. This is more convenient. Boom. But a name in real terms, the Rebbe creating one, a name is an essential, is part and parcel of what the human being is. And now we have to end. Okay, interruption till Sunday morning in Mitzvah. Have a good day and a good Shabbos. Kol tov.
It seems also with American informality, leaving, like in the 60s, leaving behind empty formality. Maybe in a certain element. Like the Rebbe said about in the 60s, it was the melting of the heart, melting of this coldness. So when America came about, it was like leaving that European structure that had no auras, that was stripped of etiquette without warmth. So there's a level of American that's like straight spoken.
You are saying that there is a cause and a reason. Yes, there is a cause.
A certain
And ultimately, it will lead to
downhill.
Ultimately, it will lead to betterment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the state as it is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if we don't attend to the state as it is, then it will not revert back.
Right.